Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofrumento, and I love entrepreneurial stories where an extreme expert takes their career and their skills and their passion and all the good that they've done in the world, and they turn it into an amazing business. And that is exactly what today's guest and fellow entrepreneur has done. So let me introduce you to him. His name is Dr. Joshua Guttman. Dr. Josh is the founder and CEO of Peachtree POCUS, which is a consulting firm focused on optimizing point-of-care ultrasound operations, education, and reimbursement. He is an associate professor of emergency medicine at the Emory University School of Medicine and a fellowship-trained ultrasound educator with over a decade of experience in clinical and academic POCUS leadership. Dr. Guttman is a nationally recognized expert in both POCUS education and reimbursement. He has given over 85 POCUS and emergency medicine-related lectures and workshops at the national and international stage. And of course, I could tell you all about how incredibly accomplished he is, because he certainly is when it comes to, he's authored multiple research studies, review articles, and textbook chapters on POCUS and emergency medicine, including contributions to Rosen's Emergency Medicine, the leading textbook in the specialty. But on top of all of that, of course, what I appreciate is the fact that he's a fellow entrepreneur. He's not just excelling in his clinical side of his career, but he's an incredible business owner. So we're all going to learn a lot about his perspective. I'm excited about this one. Let's dive straight into my interview with Dr. Josh Guttman. All right, Josh, I am so very excited to have you here with us on the show today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Heck yes, I'm so excited to dive into all of the incredible things that you've already accomplished in your career. So let's start with you personally. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Josh? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Well, medicine is, doctors now in medicine are starting to become more entrepreneurial. Are starting to think about what you can do outside of our clinical work. We do a lot of great work with our patients, but a lot of us have gone into medicine to make some impacts beyond just our clinical care with our individual patients. And that's turned into business and entrepreneurship in a lot of us. So I'm proud to be part of a community of physician builders, founders, consultants, and other business owners that have taken our knowledge that we've developed through medicine, medical school, residency, our careers, and have turned it into something bigger to help the country and globally, and take our skills and what we do beyond just the bedside to effectively everyone's bedside.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Obviously, you're very much preaching to the choir here today in front of our entrepreneurial audience. And I'm so fascinated by that, because it's a different ballgame. Is that where you excelled in the medical world, it's totally different when it comes to running a business, is that you have to wear so many other hats as well, in addition, of course, to your brilliant medical background that you bring to the table. So introduce us to Peachtree POCUS. Obviously, there's so much work that made it a reality and brought it into the world. So introduce us to that point where you said, yeah, I am a physician builder. This is the direction that I want to go. I want to create something. How is Peachtree POCUS born?
Yeah, so firstly, what is POCUS? It stands for point of care ultrasound. And a lot of you understand ultrasound as something that's done for babies, or you go to you go to see your doctor says, hey, you need an ultrasound for this, that, and the other thing. And then you go to a technician, you get an ultrasound done by a sonographer. It's then it's sent to a radiologist, it's interpreted, and then sent back to your doctor, and you get a result. What point of care ultrasound does is it takes that very same technology and over the years has become smaller, compact, and more portable, to the point that they even attach to your phone. That you can see an ultrasound screen with a transducer that's attached right to your phone. So it's evolved into something that's not just used and read by radiologists, but that is used by doctors at the bedside as this souped up 21st century physical exam. Well, instead of just pressing on your abdomen and say, does it hurt here? Does it hurt there? Where it hurts, you can actually look underneath there and say, well, what is inside your body underneath there without having any radiation or any adverse effects. And so it makes the doctor's ability to diagnose at the bedside and to perform procedures. We're seeing where is if a doctor's putting a needle into the body for whatever reason to inject the medication or to perform a biopsy, you can actually see where they're going much more safely and effectively. So it's been growing quite a bit. And so how I got started is I did a fellowship many years ago in ultrasound, as in point of care ultrasound. So that's the point of care. It's done at the point of care where you are with your doctor instead of by a sonographer somewhere else and a radiologist who's reading it, who's never met you before. And so I did a fellowship in point of care ultrasound many years ago and started to teach other trainees, residents, medical students how to do this. And beyond that, then I took over the fellowship at Emory University, where I am now, teaching other folks like myself who are interested in becoming experts in this and gaining the tools to teach others how to use ultrasound. But not only that, it's something that can be reimbursed. When you do an ultrasound, your insurance company will pay for it just like they do with any other ultrasound, but it's actually less expensive for the doctor to do it at the bedside than it is for having a radiologist or a sonographer. And so it's also something that we have to learn how to do, is how to operationalize it and get it reimbursed. And so once I was done being the fellowship director, I had a lot of great fellows under me who graduated to do great things. It was time for me to move on. And then for some years before, I've said to myself, well, some of the top hospitals and top emergency departments in the country are really operationalizing point of care ultrasound. Everyone is doing it. Our images are archived. They're sent to insurance companies for reimbursement, and they actually make some money off of it. But there is over 6,000 hospitals in the country, and while the top couple hundred are doing it, that leaves the 5,800 who are not doing it. And so there was no one else in this sphere that was going to these hospitals and these doctors' practices. And as this technology has expanded beyond emergency medicine to internal medicine and family medicine and all these other specialties, there was no one talking to them and saying, here's how you get this reimbursed. Here's how you do the exam. Here's how you operationalize it. Here's how you turn it from just this kind of cool technology that some people who have extra special training know how to do to something that everybody can do to really make the ultrasound something that can be done on every single patient to improve their care. But medicine, like anything else, is a business. And so if you can get your testing reimbursed by Medicare or by the insurance company, that both incentivizes physicians to do it, which is ultimately better for patients, but also allows healthcare systems to grow in every way possible. And so that's something very important. So I found this need, this hole in that healthcare market, and allowing people to take my expertise and what I've learned over a long time and apply it. And so that's where I started Peachtree POCUS, which is a consulting business to take my expertise and my ability to know how workflow works and knowing where things go well and things go wrong, and to help other hospitals and doctors' practices and health systems do it.
Gosh, Josh, I so appreciate that overview. And it's fascinating hearing the way you articulate and paint the picture of this landscape, because as a former economics and finance major, and of course, a lifelong entrepreneur up to this point, I'm hearing words that get me excited. You're talking about incentives. You're talking about healthcare is a business. And oftentimes we don't want to acknowledge that fact, but of course it is. And business to me is a beautiful thing because it tends to make things sustainable. Is that if we do things the right way for our customers, and we have the right operations and foundation in place, then we tend to be able to do that thing for a very long time. And so I think those are some of the beautiful powers of business, but also business has stakeholders. And when I think about the medical landscape, there's governmental forces, there's academic forces, there's the private sector forces, and all of these are working in tandem, and all of these are trying to bring innovation. Of course, I'm biased towards entrepreneurship, so I love that in the private sector, we see innovators like you pushing this forward across so many different types of institutions. Talk to us about that landscape of all these different stakeholders and where the innovations are coming from, and what it's like as a fellow entrepreneur breaking into there. Now, obviously, you have a bit of an advantage coming from the medical world, of course, and all the accolades that you have there. But talk to us about what that bringing that private sector innovation to it has looked like.
Sure. So there's both what I'm doing with Peachtree POCUS, but then it's bringing in the various aspects. So there's not only are there the government payers, the private payers who want what's best for their patients to some degree, but also want to spend less money to get the same outcomes for their patients, and that's something that ultrasound can do. So they are somewhat motivated to have these systems in place. The other aspect of it are the device companies, especially in ultrasound. So I work with many other innovators in the medical technology space, both larger publicly traded companies, and smaller startups who are bringing their innovation, and they are, I can say they are motivated to do best for patients and to bring better care to the bedside. But as medicine is a business, they also need to know how to integrate and to get their products reimbursed. And when I work with these device companies, whether the ultrasound companies or software startups, I frame it as a win for everybody, and especially a win for the patients. So you have the win for the patients because they get cheaper technology and better care, and it's a win for these device companies. If I can get their technology reimbursed by the insurance companies, then the hospitals are going to as he's going to buy more of these products as they see that it's profitable, and then when these companies come out with new products, they're going to purchase them. So it's a win for the patients, it's a win for the device companies, it's a win for the hospitals, and it's a win. I guess it's a win for me too, because then I get more business. And so my framing is that is that we can create better care for patients, which everyone agrees, and make a profit on it. And so that's the best of both worlds. We're doing great for people while making money doing it, and the hospital saving money. And so that's where we all kind of come together to innovate to the point that's better for patients.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like this is such a good advertisement for what good mission-focused entrepreneurship and business in general really leads to. You talk about that win-win-win, and I feel like it's a concept that I always keep bringing up, because what tends to be good for our customers tends to be good for our business, tends to be good for ourselves, and just tends to be good for society at large, especially in your sphere when we're talking about something that matters to everybody, the quality of healthcare, the quality of patient care. And so in that domain, it sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds like, and I'm going to throw this in air quotes for listeners who can't see us, Josh, it sounds easy to bring that sort of win-win-win solution to the table. But of course, having a conversation entrepreneur to entrepreneur, nothing is ever truly easy in life. There's always things that we need to get through. Josh, people will look at your accolades and say, oh gosh, it must be even easier for him. Talk to us about some of those real struggles with regards to finding the right messaging, knocking down the right doors, putting together the right positioning and angling to make these things happen. What has that side of your entrepreneurial journey looked like?
That is the struggle. As someone who I grew up in medicine, my father's a doctor, my mother's a nurse, my sister's a doctor. Like, we're all in medicine, and everyone I knew was professional. I have zero entrepreneurs in my family and in my sphere, and then growing up then in the what do you need to, what does I grew up in medicine. Okay, so I was going to be a doctor. What does a good doctor do? They see their patients, and in academics you write some papers and you give some lectures, and so until I decided to start Peachtree POCUS and start a business, I had no entrepreneurial role models. I had no entrepreneurial experience, because I knew what I knew. And I knew a lot about ultrasound, and I knew a lot about medicine, but I knew nothing about the actual business. And so that was both terrifying and exciting at the same time. It's terrifying because I hadn't been in anything where I wasn't the expert in the room. And I always had the skills, or at least had this trajectory to build the skills to where I can get to, but I didn't know how to get these other skills. And it's exciting because it allowed me to build these new skills. Once you reach a certain age, and you've done something for a long time, you forget how exciting it is to learn something. And so jumping into entrepreneurship, it was a lot of fun, not just doing what I do well, but gaining new skills. And I didn't appreciate when I started this. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't appreciate how much fun it would be to learn new things. And so how did I do them? I read a lot and I talked a lot. So I had no sales skills. I had no marketing skills. I never did social media. I didn't brand. I didn't do any of these things. And so it started just by looking online and looking at good review books. Like, how do I do sales? How do I start a consulting business? How do I market? And so I've read 10 plus books I've read 3 books on sales alone, all with these different approaches that I try. And so that is the fun part, and that's the terrifying and difficult part about being an entrepreneur, is how do you get your message out there? How do you get people to listen to you and pay money for your services, especially when it's a little bit more ephemeral, like, you're going to save money or you're going to make money if you pay me, rather than here's this device. And so it's been a journey. I've definitely, lost some big contracts, but that also motivated me to say, what can I do better to be able to better hone my message? But at the same time, some of the things that when it works, and when you do get a contract and you do deliver a message that resonates with someone who's then going to purchase your services, I mean, it feels amazing. As an emergency doctor, no one comes to me because they think I'm going to come to Dr. Guttman because he's the greatest specialist. People come to me because I'm in the emergency department, and so it's wonderful to have. To have people say, I think what you provide is valuable, and I'm going to pay money for it. And then for me to see how my approach has changed from the beginning of starting in business to now, it has been a lot of fun. So I would say to others if you're starting in the entrepreneurial space and you really your field really well, go out and read a lot, read from the experts, and really try to apply what they're saying, and find a group. I'm on Facebook groups for emergency medicine entrepreneurs, for physician side gigs, and others who are kind of in my space as a physician and kind of know the struggles that we go through, as like we are all doctors going through the same thing, and we're all starting our entrepreneurship journey together, and really lean on each other to get at best approaches and best practices in the entrepreneurial space.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's the real stuff, Josh. And I feel like we don't publicly talk about these things often enough, which is why I'm grateful for amazing guests like you coming here on the show and obviously broadcasting to our worldwide audience. There's something you said in there that I really want to repeat and reemphasize for listeners, which is you talk about reading. Is that, look, there's a lot that you and I don't know today, but we are certainly capable of learning anything that we put our minds to. But there's something you said about reading and consuming that content and learning from the best, is that you said you're reading while also doing it alongside things that you're trying in real life. And huge kudos to you, because I think that's the thing that holds so many people back, is that they think I can read about how to learn a bike, but ultimately I have to put my butt in the seat and probably fall off a bunch of times too before I start to get a feel for this really weird thing called balance. There's only one way to learn how to ride a bike, and that's to actually start riding. And when I look at all the things that you've built with Peachtree POCUS, it's really cool to see the way that you've structured it, because you use the word ethereal, and I think it's cool that you're bringing your knowledge, your expertise, your value add to the world in such cool ways. I'm going to shout out, coming up in May, you've got an in-person live hands-on POCUS course in the Atlanta area. And you also have operations packages. You have online courses. You have the handheld ultrasound purchase consult. You've got all these different ways that you're bringing your expertise to the people that you want to serve. Obviously, that didn't happen overnight. I would imagine this is very much an evolutionary process, but what has that looked like? Because I would imagine at one point, Dr. Guttman was sitting there thinking, how do I monetize this stuff? What does it actually look like as a business? What did that evolution of services and operations look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I started out with Peachtree POCUS having one thing in mind, and I think, as you say, it evolves based on what you're hearing, what potential customers are asking for, you never know where it's going to go. And that's where, when I started, I said to my wife, like, here's what I'm building, but who knows where it's going to be in 2, 3, 5 years down the line. And even now, like a couple years down, it's evolved even beyond. So when I first started, I thought I was going to just sell myself and my services to hospitals and physician groups about how to improve and operationalize point of care ultrasound. But then it's grown into different ways to monetize from there. A couple examples: you mentioned the handheld consultation, and that's helping folks who are going to buy their own handheld ultrasound. A lot of people do. There's a lot of products on the market, and very few people who have an understanding of that market. So I help people decide on what they're going to be spending, $5,000 of their own money. I help people decide what to buy for a very small investment, and that came from just folks reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, you're an ultrasound expert. I'm deciding between this product and this product. What should I get?" And so I've had several of those, and I would just answer them. And after several of those inquiries, I was like, well, this can turn into a business idea, because clearly there's people who want this, and I have that kind of knowledge. And even before that came from starting a YouTube channel. As I was just trying to brand myself, I was trying out these products, because if I'm going to advise someone on how to build their ultrasound practice and they have to choose which product to buy, I wanted to understand and have used all these products. And so I started to use the products, and then I looked for reviews online. I was like, what do other people think of these? And there were none that were independent of the companies themselves. Well, there's an idea. I can make review videos. So I started to make review videos after 3, 4, 5 on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. It exploded. I mean, people were loving it. All the AI agents were starting. ChatGPT and all these were like, when people were looking up device reviews, it was sending them to my channel, and it became very popular. And then there, without even thinking about it, there was another form of monetizing. So after I started to have companies come to me and say, "Hey, can you do an independent review of our product?" And then I became a little bit more of an influencer, in the sense that they are now paying for my time to create these videos. That is not something I thought of, but it's something that just evolves as time goes on. And here it gets to the handheld consults, which then leads to working with some startups. I did not think I would be consulting for startup companies when I started, who have devices that want to get them on the market. But as I started to brand myself as an ultrasound expert to the world out there, they started approaching me. So now probably my most consistent business is from startups and ultrasound companies who need help to help them develop their product and their marketing and with their customers, and serve as an expert for them. And so it's you can, even if it's not something that you're set to start out with, I think keeping an open mind, and then and then trying things out as you kind of read more and learn more and seeing where things go, creates all these avenues where your business can grow.
Oh, I love it. You are such a shining example of how fluid and fun and innovative and evolutionary an entrepreneurial journey should be. Is that the older I get, the more, I don't know why I find myself saying this phrase, but I'm just like, I'm not married to anything. I remember when I moved to LA in my mid-20s, people were like, "Oh, it's going to be great for your podcast." I started hosting retreats out there, and people would ask me, "Are you going to live here forever?" And I love LA. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. And my answer always was, I have no idea. I'm not married to anything. And same thing when I moved back to the East Coast, to Florida. And it's something that opens up so many doors for us along the way. But it also lends the question, Josh, that I'm sure a lot of listeners are wondering, how the heck are you managing your time? You've got so much going on, and we're only talking the business side. We're not even talking the side of you that's inside of academia, of course, within the medical world. Obviously, life on top of all of those things, the most important thing. And so with all of that, Josh, what does life look like in a given week or a given month? I know how fluid it is. I'd love for you to take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've had a journey in managing my time also, and those of you who are into entrepreneurship realize that and I started to realize that it never ends. I mean, you can really work 24 hours a day, on your business. When I am still in medicine, but before I started my entrepreneurial journey, I had my shift. I came in at this time, I ended at this time, and I went home, and that was it. And I didn't have to think about it anymore. Once I started a business, the entrepreneurial life can really go 24/7. And so I had to go through my own personal journey of hitting 24/7 almost, and then realizing I have to scale back for family and personal reasons. I have a wife and 3 wonderful children who also need my time, especially when they get home from school and on weekends. And it's important to me to be able to give that time. I don't think it's worth a business to give up on your family, especially your kids are only young for a short amount of time, and it's important to take advantage. But also with my wife, to be able to spend a good amount of time with her. So as I started out, and I think in the first year, I was working in the evenings, and I was kind of always trying to build on the next thing. And then I had to really learn to be intentional and to scale back, and and I think what I learned is to make all my time very intentional and scheduling it in. In addition, my exercise regimen, I'm an avid runner, and in my first year, I like to do races, and I'm not half marathons and 10Ks and so forth. And I was giving up on that training. I'm like, I don't have the time because I have all these meetings, and I'm pushing ahead. And then I didn't do the races that I like to do. And so it then came to a realization, probably, and in it was the help from family that said, like, hey, you got to slow down a little bit, life, like, you got to live life too. And so from there, I learned how to be very intentional. So I would say, if my kids are at, now my kids are at school, my wife is at work, this is the time for me to work. But when they come home, that's my time at home, and I'm very intentional with that time. I schedule in my exercise, because then it's not no one can book time with me when my exercise time is on my calendar. So I think that was really, really good for my both mental health and physical health, and knowing that my calendar ends at a specific time. And after that, that's there for family. I use the brick device. I don't know if any of you have it, but it basically shuts off you tap it, and it shuts off your phone and your apps. And so that's been good for me. Like, because sometimes you want to pull out your phone, let me just check my email real quick, even while I'm playing catch with my kids. But that sort of keeps me away. It locks some of my apps. So it's being very intentional in these things as well.
Yeah, I love that. Listeners, how cool is it? Anytime we're surrounded by fellow entrepreneurs, these are the real things that we all struggle with. As much as we all seem on the outside, we're obviously putting our branding in our best front, and we're being very intentional about our messaging and our positioning in the marketplace. Behind the scenes, it comes down to, Josh, what I heard from you right there is a lot of discipline. And of course, it doesn't mean that you're always perfect in that regard. I'm sure that there are times where it tends to break and you say, I'm going to squeeze this one more meeting in or something like that. But it's important to always remind yourself of that discipline. So that right there is great advice, but I'm going to put you on the spot one more time here in today's conversation, because I always ask this at the end of every episode, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both wantrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and knowing that you are one of us, you are a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one thing that you want to leave them with today?
I would say, especially for the wantrepreneurs, just do it. Don't think about it. Like, don't get scared. Don't think about the what if I fail? What if this happens? Just do it. Just you got to take that leap and make that decision to just get into it. Don't worry about what you look on camera. Don't worry about, I don't like posting to social media. Don't worry about what if I don't do well, and what if it fails? It doesn't matter. Right now, if you're a wantrepreneur, you're not doing it. And so my biggest advice is just take the leap, see where it goes, do your best, and you're not gonna. I promise you're not gonna regret it. No matter what, you will learn great lessons. You will do great things, and who knows, you might even succeed. And so go get after it.
Yes, I love that piece of advice, Josh, especially knowing that you're always behind a microphone, you're always behind a camera, you've got a YouTube channel, you're creating things all the time. A lot of people look at examples like you and think, well, I'm not that good yet. I'm not that polished yet. I haven't done that many reps just yet. I love the advice of just do it, because it hit me once upon a time that the first video that I record is inevitably going to be the worst. So I might as well just get that worst video out of the way, and then it only gets better from there. So huge kudos to you in all the ways that you're showing up, not for yourself, not just for your business, but most importantly for the audiences, for the world that you want to serve. I really admire so much of what it is that you've built and that you're continuing to build with Peachtree POCUS. So for listeners who want to find all the cool stuff that you're up to, Dr. Josh, you've got to drop some links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yeah, you can check out my website at peachtreepocus.com. POCUS is POCUS. And you can find my channel on, you can find us on LinkedIn or X and Facebook and Instagram. If you want to check out all the cool stuff we're doing, or please get in touch. Send me an email, jguttman@peachtreepocus.com, or just go to the website and you can reach me from there. And I'm happy to chat for any physicians out there who are thinking of starting a business or wanting to get into something like this, or feel free to chat, because it's really, I'm paying it forward. I got to talk to physicians myself, and I really valued their advice. And now that I'm into it, I'd be really happy to talk with you and what worked, what didn't, and how you can move forward.
Yes, I love that. And listeners, you already know the drill. We're dropping all of those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. So much cool stuff to explore there. Even if you're not in the medical world, even if you're not a physician, check out all the amazing things that Josh is doing, because success leaves clues, and we can always learn something from every single person, every single business that we come across. So Josh, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.